have you heard that popular songwriting advice of your song has to go somewhere? And even though it sounded real simple, in the back of your mind, you still wondered, and what does it mean exactly? Like where can I take my song? If that's you, no worries. I've got a great concept that will be so visual and easy to understand, you'll be able to apply it right away. I will start with giving you a global macro view first, and then I'll show you the different possibilities of where you can actually take your song. Sound good? Awesome, so let's get started. To make this super easy, just think of it like wanting to get directions. The first thing you have to know is, where are you? Like, what's the starting place, right? If you want Google Maps to give you directions, you have to activate your GPS so it knows where you are, just like in any other navigation app. And then, of course, you gotta know where you want to go. What's the destination? What's the place where you want to arrive? Now, I know this sounds way too simple, but stay with me. There's more to this. This is just like the basic stuff, okay? Let's nail this before we go deeper. So all it is, in its most basic form, it's a movement from one place to another. But honestly, if we would write a song that is literally about someone moving from place A to place B, it doesn't sound so tempting, right? So what does it really mean to take your song somewhere? And what is somewhere? To better understand this, we have to look back at the starting place. More specifically, we can define that starting place as the beginning of your song. Easy, right? Now, where the rubber meets the road is by actually thinking about what the beginning of the song will be like. You have to think about what situation your song's main character will be in. The easiest way to do this is to think of it in terms of what problem do they face. Is it something that affects their body, their feelings, or their mind, or all of them at once? Like, what's their specific situation? What opportunity, challenge, or threat do they face? What happened to them? Like, where does your story start? What's their particular situation right now? And again, the easiest way to start and find your song's beginning is by just being clear on your song's main character situation and focus on the problem that they face. Did their love break up with them? Do they meet someone they like? Did they get into an accident? Does an opportunity present itself? Find that problem, that disturbance, right? This thing that happens to them, and turn that into the starting place of the song. Because between you and me, if you want to take your audience along for the ride, the easiest way to hook them and make them intrigued or create that emotional connection with them so they want to know more about what's going on is by picking them up where they are. Pick them up where they are. That means when writing the song, be aware of who you are writing the song for and what is the particular problem they are facing. If you focus on those two things, like the who and their problem, then you got a great starting place that will resonate with lots of people. So to get their attention, we need to speak to their problem so we can pick them up where they are right now. That's why your song's first lines shall address the problem. That's the easiest way to start your song and write something that people will actually resonate with, that will speak to them. And this should mark the starting point of the journey. We gotta know where they are first before we can take them anywhere. But the problem is only one part of the equation. You also need to know what's the place you can take them to. And that's why we have that common advice, a song should go somewhere. Like, where do you want to take your audience? Because if you want to move the people who will listen to your song, you have to take them along for the ride, move them. And moving people requires movement. And that goes for your song lyrics as well. They can't be only about the problem because that would be super depressing and painful. So we have to go somewhere so we can move them, get them from one place to another. So what is the place that we can actually take them to? Well, preferably it's a better place. That's the goal. It's the place where that darn problem does not exist anymore, where the challenge is overcome, the opportunity turned out to be a great win, or the threat has been eliminated. So we prefer it to be that better place. It can turn out differently too, and get worse, but this here is like the ideal outcome. And that outcome is the destination. That's the big global concept of where we can actually take our song. We start by focusing on who we are writing this song for and what is the particular problem or challenge that they face. And then we define the outcome. Where will they end up? Will they end up at a better place or a worse place after dealing with that problem? By the way, this is based on the search inference framework, which is a foundational concept in the field of artificial intelligence and computer science. Like way before what we know today as AI tools, this was like a global problem solver tool, okay? This is how AI was first invented. I think it was just to become this global problem solver. And among the 4 things that it basically consists of, it has an initial state, which represents the starting point or the current condition from which the problem-solving process shall begin. Just like our GPS position, it must be clearly defined so we can establish a baseline for the search. And in terms of songwriting, just look at this initial state as the initial state of your song's main character, where something upset their life or disturbed them. It's that feeling that you lack something, that you miss something. And that is what creates that goal state. For example, you feel thirsty, that means you lack something to drink, which means you need water. And by being aware of this, we are also aware of the goal. And the goal state is the preferred destination, the solution to the problem, the target, or the outcome or condition when the problem is solved. In the search inference framework, the goal state provides a clear criterion for when the search can be terminated successfully, like when it can end. For instance, if you desire water, the goal state is having water. Once you have it, you're good. Mission accomplished. So this search inference framework is another way of how you can think about this starting point and the destination. And if you wonder how I know that stuff, should you actually listen to this? So, hey, I'm Melanie Naumann. I have worked as a story editor for over a decade now, and I have been a StoryGrid certified editor since 2019. And the StoryGrid is this huge methodology on the craft of storytelling. And our goal at the StoryGrid is to help storytellers tell stories that feel realer than real. That's why the StoryGrid considers all those theories and concepts of science, psychology, and philosophy that explain how the world works. And the StoryGrid combines them all into this actual craft of how we can tell a story that works. So everything I'm teaching you here is based on me having applied those concepts in books, movies, screenplays, and also by dissecting and analyzing how storytelling works in songs. And I have dissected over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. So let's get back to figuring out where we can take our song or go in our song lyrics. Now, as I mentioned before, we focus on the who and their problem, the initial state, because we want the audience to be able to slip into our song's main character's shoes and identify with them. Or at least we want them to root for that character. Because if someone faces a problem, we always wonder, will they solve it? Will they not? And added to that, we also wonder like, how, right? How will they be able to do this? And added to that, the song's main character should also want to solve that problem, okay? This is very important. They should want to solve that problem. Just imagine if we had a character in our song who does not want anything. That wouldn't be very inspiring, right? Or compelling or captivating. Think about it. What would it be like if we had someone, even though they face a problem, they just don't do anything about it? And this in turn affects the listener. When the song's main character does not care about the problem that they face, then why should the listener care? Why should they care about listening to the song when it obviously sounds like it won't go anywhere? Why should they care about the problem if it's not worth doing something about it? Then I think if that was the case, then the problem isn't big enough yet. And that's why the song's main character doesn't do anything about it. There's probably nothing at stake. It's not important enough to pay attention to it, right? So why write a song about it at all, right? That's the question. Why write about it? Or on the other hand, maybe the listener feels this problem is big and there's a need to act on it, but all they get to see is someone not doing anything about it. Honestly, tell me, how compelling is that? It's not, right? It's absolutely not. So if we have a song's main character and they don't have a goal, or that they desperately need to pursue, then that character and that song has no reason to act. For them, there's no reason like to get out of the house or even get out of the bed. And the consequence is that our song is not going to go anywhere because the song's main character isn't going anywhere. And what is even worse is that if our song's main character doesn't want anything, then there's nothing to make us as the audience, care about them, root for them, or identify with them. There is no story to tell because they just won't move. And if they don't move, then they can't move the audience because moving requires action. Same thing when everything is peachy in the song and we can hear about all the great things that are happening for them. Then they are already over there, like here, on the other side of the cliff. They are at a better place. And that's great for them, but it's not helpful for someone who's struggling. And it's not very compelling too, because just ask yourself, would you rather hear someone tell you about the awesome place they're in, like all the great things that are happening in their life? Would you like to hear about this? Or would you like to hear about their struggle, of how they actually got there? It's like when you ask a successful person about their life, they want to tell you about the struggle and the challenges and where they started from, because then that place where they are now, it gains way more meaning. And what is actually worth talking about? The great things, or actually how you got there so that your story can actually inspire them? So just talking about the better place will not allow your listeners to come along for the ride. It won't take them to a better place. The better place is over there on the other side of the canyon. And those people have no way of getting there. That's why we have to pick them up where they are. Preferably, we should do that with our song's first line. And how you can do that, I will show you in another video. For now, this is kind of like the lens on how you can look at this. It's by far the most powerful way to grab someone's attention from the get-go and establish that initial state. And then, of course, our second element is our song's main character needs to have a goal. And we already know what that goal should look like, because the goal is connected to the problem that the person faces who we are writing this song for. It's that desired end state, that goal state. When they're standing on a cliff, it's getting to the other side of it. It's getting out of that mess. It's finding a solution to their problem. And when we write songs like this that go from a bad place to a better one, that's when we write an empowering song. If you want to know how you can actually write a song that tells a story and that is empowering, then please check out this video that shows you the 5-step narrative journey so you know the waypoints that actually allow you to take someone from that starting place to the desired destination. And if you want to learn more about storytelling and songwriting, please subscribe to my channel. Now, the other option of not ending up at a better place is to end up in a worse place, right? Sometimes we have songs like this. Songs like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, Stand by Eminem, Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash, or Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Just to name a few. Songs that are not about empowering someone. Those are the kind of songs that end in a worse place and that serve as a warning. It's about showing the negative consequences of a certain path of action through the story that you tell in the lyrics. And now that you know that a song needs to go somewhere, let's talk about what go somewhere actually means. Because if we want to create coherence, like a strong connection between the beginning and the ending of the song, then that somewhere, it cannot be a willy-nilly choice, all right? Donald Miller said, humans are constantly scanning their environment for the things that help them meet their needs. And we know when we have a problem, one of those needs that this problem affects is not satisfied. And when we have a goal, then it's something we don't have yet. Think about it like this. If we need something, that means there's something we are missing. So if we face a problem, one of our needs is unsatisfied. Just like in the search inference framework, right? This initial state starts always with this kind of unsatisfied state, because then a goal state is actually possible. I'm thirsty, I need water, so I don't feel thirsty anymore. So I have this unsatisfied state in the beginning. And so when we have those unsatisfied needs, that's why we scan our environment for someone who gets us, right? For something that can help us meet our needs. And if we find someone who speaks to our pain and who understands us, then those will be the ones we will listen to, because we hope they can help us to get to that goal state, to get to that better place. And when it comes to our songs, that human need connects the problem and the goal state. And we all have needs, right? Because we are humans. And you've probably heard of him. There's this guy called Abraham Maslow, and he developed the hierarchy of our universal human needs, things that apply to every human being. We all have that basic need to survive and wanting to feel safe. Most of us want to be loved, and have a place where we belong. Some more strive for being recognized and seen, and others value to grow and become a better person, while others even look for ways how they can build a legacy so a part of them stays while they have long moved on to greener pastures. So those are our 6 universal human needs. And Sean Coyne, the creator of the Story Grid methodology, he came up with this concept that I want to introduce to you now so that you can literally see where you can take your song. And Sean Coyne, he mapped out those needs on a gas gauge. And all you need to focus on is this basic concept. And that's the idea, to consider a human need like something that you can measure, like the gas in a tank. A need can be fully satisfied, like the tank is full, or it can be completely unsatisfied, and then the need is low. Sometimes we feel like we are running on fumes, right? So that's when that need is very grave, when it's super huge. And we desperately need something to fulfill it, to make it satisfied, to get to a better place again. So for example, when we look at the need for survival, then we might be in perfect condition, and that's when that need is full. The gas in the tank is full. There's nothing to worry about when it comes to our survival. The need is satisfied, all is good. But what happens if we catch a cold? The need is not fully satisfied anymore. And we have the goal state now. We want to be healthy again, right? That's what we want. That's the place we want to get back to how things were. And maybe we are on our way to a drugstore and we get attacked and they beat us up. Then our need for survival gets stronger and stronger because it's threatened. It's very much threatened. It goes towards our life being in real danger. And you can see the closer we get to that need being unfulfilled, the bigger the problem is. Or when we look at the need for safety, we might feel perfectly safe in the neighborhood that we live in. But what if there's a dead body that shows up in the park across the street, and they say in the news the person had been killed? We would feel threatened because it happened in our close proximity. And then imagine what would happen if there's another murder and they say there's a serial killer on the loose, killing in our neighborhood. Our safety would then be in huge jeopardy. Or maybe you write about someone feeling alone and not believing that they'll ever find someone who loves them. Maybe their need for love and an intimate relationship is super strong, but they feel totally indifferent to the world or just not lovable. And then it could change for the better and they finally meet the one, like the one true person that they want to be with. And their unsatisfied need for a meaningful human connection gets fulfilled. You see, there's a gap between where someone is who struggles with something and where they want to go. And I said the problem and the goal state, they have to be connected. We need them to be connected so that we can create coherence, so that it all makes sense and the lyrics progress in a meaningful way, which just means when they start having that problem in the beginning and the place you lead up to, this has to be connected. It has to make sense. It cannot be about someone struggling to survive in the beginning and then suddenly they find the love of their life. Like, that doesn't fit together. You can, of course, put it together in like a story with multiple plot lines, but in itself, since a song is very condensed, we should always have those two things connected by one universal human need, okay? So the way they are connected is by this human need gas gauge. That's how you can think about or visualize where you want to take your song. Just map it out on a scale of a gas tank, running between full and empty and all the gradients in between. Because somewhere on that gas gauge is the problem located. And the gravity of the problem decides how close that person is to having an empty tank regarding that particular need. And their goal doesn't have to be a full tank where that need is completely satisfied. It doesn't have to be that. But the goal is a better place. So it's located somewhere between the problem and the full tank, the fully satisfied need, somewhere in between. So it's somewhere where the needle of the gas tank moves to the right and gets filled up a little more. That's when we have those songs that lead to a better place, and we show how the song's main character moves closer to their goal or gets it, right? And sometimes you have a song that shows a big shift from how things used to be to how they have changed. For example, like in the Monkees song of I'm a Believer, where someone only suffered disappointments in love and then they turn into a believer of fairy tale love. That's a huge shift. And sometimes it's about that incremental change for the better. That's totally okay as well. For instance, take any love song that turns from two people liking each other and they kiss or get together, like the next step in that progression of their relationship. Just the next step. That is also fully okay. So for example, in Gloria Gaynor's song, I Will Survive, we have the song's main character's initial state as being a chained up little person who was super dependent on her partner, but he broke up with her. And she becomes a much stronger person at the end of the song. She becomes a survivor, someone who can make it on her own. In the song What's Her Name by Green Day, we encounter someone who wonders about the past, and in particular, they remember one person and what they are up to now. And at the end of the song, he is able to keep the memories and move on. He's not stuck in the past anymore. And with the song, we lead people who struggle with a similar regret from doubt to acceptance, by showing them to treasure the time they spent with someone and not live in regret of what could have been. So it speaks to the need of self-acceptance, which belongs to the universal human need of esteem, because we gotta accept ourselves for the choices that we've made. The song Beautiful Day by U2 was written for everyone who faces a bad day or bad times. And the problem is they fall into that blues where they start to see everything as bad, and without being able to see the beauty around them. And we lead them from that negative mindset to recognizing beauty again. It's like we open the shutters so they can see. We achieve this by taking them through the day of the song's main character, and we let them experience both. It's like, is the glass half full or is it half empty? And we give them this new frame of mind. Even though bad things happen, it can still be a beautiful day, because it all depends on what we focus on. What we focus on determines what we notice and what we don't notice. So it speaks to the need of self-actualization, because we want to stop seeing the world in black and white, as in good and bad. We want to find the beauty in all the shades of gray. The song I'm a Believer by the Monkees that I've already mentioned, it was written for people who want true love, but they have experienced constant disappointment in love. And the song leads them from doubt to belief by showing them that one moment can change everything. We lead them from this place of doubt that true love exists to becoming a believer in true love. So it speaks to the need of love and filling that one up again. In the song I Would Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf, we encounter someone who has cheated in the past, and what they want now is to prove their love and that it's real. And that song helps to show the way to people in similar situations, because we lead them from wanting love to proving themselves and their love by working through all the objections that hold their partner back from fully committing to them. So it speaks to the need of love and filling that one up again. On the other hand, it's also possible that it doesn't turn out well, and the song ends at a worse place. And in those songs that lead to a worse place, where the problem only gets bigger and bigger, and that has the intention to serve as a warning, then the needle moves closer to an empty tank, which means the need increases, and with that, the problem gets bigger. And then it takes a lot more effort and strength to get back to a better place. For example, Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash was written for people who are on the edge of doing something wrong. And even though they might be aware of the consequences of a criminal act, like having to go to jail, they are not aware of how their perspective might change over time on what they're about to do. And the song's main character ends up in jail and emphasizes what it's like to lose all track of time. The song Stand by Eminem was written for fans that seek their idol's recognition and they experience the growing anger of a neglected fan. And with the song, Eminem leads the audience from ignorance to understanding by showing them the idol's perspective. But most importantly, and this is what makes the story a cautionary one, it shows them the fatal outcome of a certain path of action. For Stan, it ended in death. Stan never got to that place of understanding. Another example is the song Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. This one also tells a cautionary tale of someone who has fallen in social graces. They have lost all their status and all their money, and now they don't have anything because they used to define who they are by who they were with and what they had. And they didn't know anything about the world because they were fooled, right? And so they didn't know what people are actually capable of. They thought they had it all, and then they did not anymore. So this song is a warning. All right, I hope you have a better understanding now where you can actually take your song. It's either to a better place or a worse place, considering the position you start from. And it concerns one universal human need, so that the beginning and the ending are connected. So next time when you're writing the lyrics for a song, think about where it all starts and where it will go. Where will the song's main character end up in the end? Will it turn out better for them or worse? And how big will that shift be from where they were to where they end up? So please keep the gas gauge of human needs in mind to visually see or even measure that shift. Now, there's a lot more that goes into each of those pieces that we talked about today, from defining the starting place, the goal, the outcome, all the way across the search inference framework, the narrative journey in between, beginning and ending, the human needs, like as you blah, 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 blah. Like you can see, like there's so much to this. So the best thing you can actually do is just subscribe to my channel to explore more storytelling and songwriting. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.